Right, we're live. Before I actually get into this, whether you're watching this live or on playback or whatever, I have to apologise for not having a weekly upload on this channel. Quite frankly, I've just been, over the last month or so, just so busy. I've been on holiday, work trips away, trying to balance full-time job, an FPL YouTube channel and a Sky channel. It's just been a bit too much for me. So unfortunately, I've not been able to make much content on this channel recently, but we're going to start that with a Game Week 6 preview in Sky. You're going to take a look at all the players' stats for the season so far, how they've all gotten on. There's some single game days coming up of a bit of interest. Obviously, a new set of fixtures after this international break, and I've got a few stats to talk through, and I'll show my team at the end as well for anyone that's interested. If you're watching live, please feel free to chime in the chat, say hello. Good to have a bit of audience input. I'm just going to start off by going through some stats on FF stuff. Now, I'm pretty sure everyone would imagine who the top scoring players in Sky are, but I think it's just interesting to go through the whole list, basically. So, yeah, no surprise, Erling Haaland tops the tree. Got Rodri, who isn't in my team at the moment. I think I'm missing out greatly on not having him in my team. He's in second. He looks even better than he has been in previous seasons, basically. Playing, I don't know, is he playing a more advanced role, or is it just that he started the season scoring, you know, more goals than he did last year? I think, you know, Rodri always popped up with 3 or 4 sort of goals, 4 or 5 assists a season, whether he's just getting on with them early this season as opposed to normal, or whether he is adopting a slightly more attacking role. I guess remains to be seen. The sample size of 4 fixtures so far this season is a little bit too small to go off of, but yeah, he's definitely looking a really good option in Sky. Christian Romero, 38 points, third highest scoring player in Sky. Don't know about you, but back last season, I had him in my team straight away from the start, and he was absolutely terrible. And now, yeah, the chickens have come home to roost, and he's the top scoring defender in Sky. And Bumo's look really good. There's a Nottingham Forest and Brentford single game day coming up. A lot of us will be hopping on a Nottingham Forest player this game week for their single game day against Burnley. But I think the question will remain, can you get away with captaining your Forest player in that game? Or do you go for Brian Mbumo, who's just absolutely killing it in terms of points? Jared Bowen, 32 points. Evan Ferguson, obviously off the back of his hat-trick. James Maddison looking really good. Heung-min Son as well. That's a tricky decision, that, isn't it? And to be honest, I think it's a 50-50 coin flip, in all honesty. Son versus James Maddison for the upcoming Spurs single game days. I think remains to be seen. For me, just my thoughts on that, remains to be seen on what position Son plays. If he's playing the, you know, number 9 central striker role in place of Richarlison, I think he's a great option. But if he's more on the left wing, I don't think the Postecoglou left wingers get too involved, like in the actual goals. That's just the nature of his system, which would make me think James Maddison is a better option. But you know, imagine going into this game week against Sheffield United, he's going to play centre forward. You know, Richarlison has been really disappointing so far. So yeah, if Son plays number 9, probably better than James Maddison, purely because he'll probably take the penalties as well. Odsonne Edouard, interesting to see him up on 29 points. We've got a boatload of players on 29 points. Son, Edouard, Salah, Saka, Axel Disasi of Chelsea, Declan Rice, who is proven to be a pretty decent player for bonus points and, of course, total points, as we're looking at the total points list. Vicario, I believe, is the top scoring goalkeeper. I don't see a goalkeeper above him. Yeah, you can see the rest of the players there. I mean, we all know most of these top scoring players, but it's just interesting to see them ranked. Next, then, we've got the top players for bonus points. Obviously, the way that the Sky game works, you get rewarded for passes, tackles, shots, and saves for a goalkeeper. So the top player for bonus points is Rodri. He's had passing bonus tier 2 in every single game he's played. Looks like he's got a little bit of tackles, and because he's had so many attacking returns, he's up there for shots bonus as well. Declan Rice, we were questioning whether he was going to be a good player for bonus, but across the 4 fixtures that he's played so far, he's got 15 bonus points. So yeah, looking like a really good option at 8.1 million. Disasi of Chelsea making the passing bonus. It's a shame that he's been getting the bonus over Levi Colwill. Feel a little bit robbed going for Colwill, really. He's not really been amongst the passing bonus at all. Thiago Silva, but he's always up there. Lewis Dunk, you know, passing bonus tier 2 in each of the games he's played. Saliba, I think he's had 3 passing tier 2s and 1 tier 1. Same with Ruben Diaz, and he got tackles in 1 game as well by the looks of it. Enzo Fernandez, obviously a passing legend. I think he's hit bonus every game, just one of them was just tier 1. Yves Bissouma looks to be the budget sort of cheap midfield enabler. My only concern with Yves Bissouma at the moment is if he gets injured. If he gets injured, I really don't think there's another player to hop on. And he didn't have, well, I don't believe he's got the best injury record. So, yeah, remains to be seen on that one. But he does look a great option at that price. Obviously, Erling Haaland dominating for the shots bonus. Casemiro up there as well. I don't think he's quite reached the upper limits of the other guys. Obviously, propped up a little bit by shots bonus. Not sure how consistently he's going to get that. So, to say Casemiro is one of the best assets in Sky at the moment because he's so high in bonus is probably a bit of a stretch. Lots of keepers there for saves bonus. I think that probably rounds out the bonus points. Total points per game per million. So this is a good stat to look at basically for the best value players in Sky Sports Fantasy Football. And it's a list that doesn't have Erling Haaland at the top of it. In fact, I don't think he appears. Might be wrong. Oh, he is. He's like, what's that, 7th, 8th place? But yeah, Christian Romero, 7.9 million, third top scoring player in Sky at the moment. No surprise that he's top. Rodri, proving great value. You can see the rest of the players there. I won't go through them all. But these are the top players in Sky for points per million per game. And what I've done on ffstuff.co.uk, you can set the filter on how many fixtures these players have played. Obviously, some of them, you know, you can dominate this leaderboard basically by playing one game and getting lots of points in it and then never playing again. Like a super cheap player could get a clean sheet or something and be by far and away the top of the list. So I filtered it by 2 fixtures. So suggesting that each of these players have played 2 fixtures and you can properly get a view of their points per game per million. So I had a look at FOTMob. It's a website I like to use to track the in-game stats and positions and expected goals, etc. for players during games. And I found the top 10 players in the Premier League this season for average passes per game and average tackles per game. Interesting, Jordan Bayer of Burnley looks to be an absolutely tackle monster. 7 tackles per game so far in the Premier League. Lucas Paqueta on 4.5, Semedo 4.3. You can see the rest of the players there basically. I think Nakamba has got 3 tackles in every game that he's played so far. So I know a lot of people will be annoyed with how he got on in their teams. I believe Paul McNulty, when I watched the 3 for 1 podcast, suggested he's going to hold on to him. I think if you haven't sold Nakamba at this point, it's only a matter of time before he starts hitting the tackle bonus. But the man really, I think, to try and replace him with, probably Yves Bissouma. Bayer could be a good option, but I feel like the negative points you might get off of him with Burnley conceding goals might make him a bit too difficult of an option to go for. Nice to see Christian Norgard up there as well. He was, in previous seasons, an absolute beast for tackles. So, yeah, those are the top players for tackles. In terms of average passes per game, Rodri's top of the tree, 113 passes per game so far. Thiago Silva, Lewis Dunk and Disasi all above 100. Ruben Diaz on 99, Saliba on 91, Enzo 89, Akanji, Webster and Van Heck of Brighton top the list. They're all above 80 passes. So I just thought that was interesting to look at, basically. What I thought I would look at up next is just the Game Week 6 fixtures in Sky. I'm already getting lost on which Game Week it is in Sky because they count the international break as a game week, whereas obviously FPL doesn't. So the numbers get thrown out basically after, well, they become different basically after a few weeks of the season. So Game Week 6 in Sky, we've got these fixtures. Wolves at home to Liverpool, West Ham at home to Man City, Tottenham at home to Sheffield United, Man United Brighton, Fulham Luton, Aston Villa Crystal Palace, and Newcastle Brentford. From my perspective, I think I'm definitely going to go Erling Haaland because I don't own Son. But looking at all the expected data I've seen, like for goal scoring odds, expected points, etc., it does look like the data suggests you could challenge Haaland with a Son captaincy on Saturday. I personally don't have Son, and I think even if I had Son, I'd just take the points and just go for Haaland captain, really. It just makes sense that every time Haaland plays, pretty much, you got to captain him. The only sort of times he doesn't tend to do that well, and it's like most players, really, when he plays a top side away from home, he tends to have a little bit less goal-scoring luck. West Ham, they're not a top side. They are proven to be a good team this season, though. He could have a tough time of it, but I just don't see a better captain than Haaland on the Saturday. Bournemouth and Chelsea, Everton and Arsenal on the Sunday. Now, I've heard of a few players that have sold Bukayo Saka already for someone like Rodri. Does that mean that quite a few will probably go Nicholas Jackson as captain? I'd imagine so. For me, I've still got Saka. Away at Everton, I think it just makes sense that he's the best captain. And as we all seen, you know, Odegaard took a penalty off of him against Crystal Palace. And then obviously Saka, the manager, I believe, confirmed that Saka was on penalties. And then obviously Saka took the next one. So he's still on pens. It's up to Saka, basically, who takes it. Then Monday the 18th, we've got an interesting single game day, Nottingham Forest against Burnley. Best captain on that day, I think, is Taiwo Awoniyi. I've made, well, on the Golden Goal Fantasy Football main channel, I've made a video talking about him as a FPL option because, well, he just looks in ridiculous form. I'm pretty sure he's got 8 goals in his last 8 Premier League games, and that record, obviously, because there's only been 4 games so far, that record continues into last season where his goals basically kept Nottingham Forest in the league. He looks a really good option, and his expected underlying numbers per 90 minutes, they were competitive with the likes of Harry Kane and Mo Salah last season. So, you'd be captaining those guys last season if they had a single game day for sure. And Awoniyi has the opportunity against a team that have just been promoted. So for me, he's pretty much a shoo-in as captaincy in my team. Nottingham Forest penalty taker without Brennan Johnson. I don't know if anyone in the live stream can put it in the chat who they think will take the penalties. But based on his current form, I think it could be Awoniyi. I'm just going to blow my nose a second. I've got a bit of a cold. But yeah, I think it's pretty simple, clear cut on who the best captains in Game Week 6 are. So I won't spend too much longer on that. We do have some interesting single game days coming up. So obviously, you talked about the Monday one. On Friday the 27th next week, we've got Crystal Palace against Tottenham. Best captain on that day, I think, it remains to be seen what position Heung-min Son lines up in, and I don't think I'd be hopping on him early. I think Friday we'll see the lineup. By the way, these times I think are incorrect because I took these screenshots while I was on holiday in Croatia, so they're an hour ahead of when the actual kickoff is. So Friday the 27th, Palace and Tottenham kick off at 8 p.m. So just to bear that in mind. So yeah, Son v Maddison on that day. Yeah, remains to be seen, I think, how this weekend goes, how the team lines up on Friday, etc., who you go for. But I mean, Spurs captain is between those two, isn't it? I'll probably do, to be fair, I'll be doing an FPL deadline stream on the Friday evening. And yeah, I'll use that deadline stream to decide who is the best Sky captain, basically. Sunday, the 22nd of October, we've got Aston Villa against West Ham. Interesting one. Aston Villa are about to go on a really, really strong fixture run. And judging by the position that he's playing and the price that he is in Sky, the RB could be a really good option for that game. Obviously, Watkins, you'd think, is like the talisman in inverted commas for Villa, but I do think someone like Martinez could be a good option too. Lots of options really for that game. Monday, the 23rd of October, we've got Tottenham against Fulham again. So the player you pick from Tottenham on Friday the 27th, you're probably going to want to captain them against Fulham at home as well. Well, obviously you are. Sunday, the 1st of October is another Nottingham Forest single game day. Monday, the 2nd of October, we've got Fulham against Chelsea. So, unfortunately, those looking to sell Nicholas Jackson with a single game day coming up on the 2nd of October, unfortunately, it probably means you need to hold on to him. And then Tuesday, the 3rd of October, is Luton v Burnley. I don't currently own a player from either of these teams, and I think the question is, do you buy someone for Luton v Burnley? I'm not sure. I'm undecided on that. I mean, we've got a few weeks to go until that game actually happens. If I've got some injuries in my team, etc., then I might well consider it. Bayer looks decent for bonus, and who knows, Nakamba could nail 4 or 5 tackles in every game up to that point as well. So I'm not gonna come to a conclusion on that one yet. Likewise with Tottenham as well. I think Son v Maddison is still to be decided, basically. Get another game out of them against Sheffield United, and then see how the team lines up on Friday as well. Oh, I just said Friday. It's the 27th of October. That's my mistake. So yeah, it's not next Friday. We've got a little while until we have to worry about that. So we've got a decent sample size of data to come before we have to choose who the best Tottenham asset is, basically. And yeah, I've got them the wrong way around by the looks of it. So the first Tottenham single game day is the 23rd, then the 27th. Okay, my bad. I put the graphics in the wrong order and confused myself. Forgive me. This is live, by the way. If I make mistakes, they stay in. What did I do next? Oh, this was just a quick look at my team as well in the sort of position that I'm in. So I've got 2 teams. One is ranked, I think that says 18k. It's really small on my screen. 18k and another one at 21k. The difference is, one game week, I decided to do Saliba to Diaz in this first team you're looking at. And then in Chocolate Digestive FC, I just left Saliba in. I thought it was a little bit of a luxury move, so I just didn't fancy doing it in both teams. So I've got 1 extra transfer now in that Chocolate Digestive FC team. Largely happy with this team, really. I think the transfer I'm going to make this week, is Bowen to Awuni. Makes sense to cover the Nottingham Forest couple of single game days that they've got. Colwill could be the other one to be sort of on the chopping block. But again, I can't really justify taking him out because there's no one in defence around that price that is as good, in my opinion. Don't know what you guys, if you're in the chat or whatever, thinking about Colwill, whether you want to take him out or just hold him. I think Chelsea's still got some decent fixtures coming up. Arguably could get passing in some of them and obviously some clean sheets. So I'm probably just going to stick with him. As for the rest of the team, though, I'm really happy with it. The only one thing I would say as well, after this week, Saka's probably not going to be needed as a captain. So whether I could drop him for Rodri and then just have Rodri, because you're not really going to captain Rodri over Haaland. Oh, sorry. You're not going to want to captain Saka again. So it makes sense to save a bit of cash, go for the second highest scoring player in the game instead. So that could be a move I make. Feels a bit luxury though. Another one, I'm not too happy with my goalkeeper in Onana, but when you look at that list of goalkeepers in the game at the moment, Vicario's top at the moment. He's got Sheffield United as the next fixture. It looks really good. Then he plays Liverpool and Arsenal, and I don't back Tottenham to keep a clean sheet in both those games. So for a knee-jerk goalkeeper transfer to Vicario, I don't think makes sense. Newcastle are about to go on a decent fixture run, as are Aston Villa. So obviously Pope and Martinez are good options for those, as is Rob Sanchez at the price he is as well. So maybe those guys could come in goal for me. But yeah, I mean, largely happy with this team. I think I've got, pretty much some of the best players in each position going forwards. 44 transfers left, a respectable rank for this stage. I mean, you look at the average transfer stats that players in ranks above me have. I'm doing all right. I'm very healthy. Let me know in the chat, by the way, what your ranks are at the moment. Be interested to see what viewers are saying. I've just got to do a bit of jiggery pokery on my screens because I'm just going to pull up Twitter to see if we've had any Twitter questions. Two seconds. Oh, and today, just be prepared for a bit of fixture annoyance, congestion, rearrangements, blah, 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 at the end of September, beginning of October, because they've just announced some more train strikes. So exactly what that means for fixtures, obviously we don't know yet, but in previous seasons, games have been cancelled for lack of trains. So just one thing to think about. Right, we do have a few questions. Jay Hollyoak asks, if/when Johnson gets dropped, is Sanchez the obvious replacement? I'd say probably so. It just depends how much budget you've got, really. If you've got a bit of extra budget to upgrade Johnson, then like I said, I think Pope and Martinez could be really good options going forward. They're both known for getting saves bonus alongside a decent level of clean sheets, but if you're strapped for cash, then Sanchez definitely makes sense. Best replacement for Trent? It's a really tough one. Although I probably, there's lots of good defenders, but I just think Ruben Diaz is probably as solid as they get. Diaz or Saliba. Saliba's going into some reasonably difficult fixtures, but he is probably more nailed than Diaz is, because you just don't know with Pep. But I'd probably say Diaz is the best replacement for Trent. So what I did do, forgive me, while I was on holiday, I said I was going to record a video, but I didn't actually have access to the Sky game while I was away. So I couldn't make a video. So I'm going to go back to the tweet that I put out while I was on holiday just to see if there were any more questions that people wanted answering. Bear with, my laptop's been a bit laggy at the moment. So Dave Hannigan, with a seeming lack of clean sheets so far this season, do you think it's better to just choose a keeper and hold? If so, Alisson, Vicario, Flecken, or change based on fixture runs? Thanks, Dave. Honestly, I think you've just got to be adaptable, really. I don't think there's an easy answer to that question. We could see clean sheets pick up after this international break. Now teams have, gotten to know each other a bit more in terms of new signings, bedding in the defences, etc., etc. So I don't think you can come to a straight conclusion on that, in my opinion. In terms of choosing Sky keepers, though, the way I do it is you choose the strongest keeper in the game. You go for someone like Alisson or Edison. They're absolutely fine. You go for a keeper that makes saves bonus that's cheap. That's also an absolutely fine way to go about it. Or you can go for the mid-price keepers like Martinez and Pope that get the best of both worlds. Like, I think it's really hard to say. The one thing I would say, though, is don't be afraid to make goalkeeper transfers. I know in previous seasons a fair few people have suggested maybe changing goalkeepers is not the best use of transfers. However, in previous Sky seasons, goalkeepers have scored largely the similar amount of points to the outfield players. You know, someone like, I think it was De Gea last season scored over 200 points, similar level to someone like Bukayo Saka or some of the premium options. So, you know, if he's scoring similar points to that and you can only get one of them, and there's a single game day coming up from a good defence, like Pope could be a good captain, for example, on a Newcastle single game day, it absolutely makes sense to make goalkeeper transfers. So, yeah, I would stay flexible on the keepers, in my opinion. And Streaky is asking, is Awoniyi someone to say bring in for Colwill, or should we wait until after the Man City game? Yeah, I mean, for me, mate, if you can do Colwill to Awoniyi on Monday, absolutely plum move. Do it. I think that's it. Right. Yeah, that's it. That's it for questions. No messages in the chat, so hopefully get a few comments when this video goes uploaded after the live stream. Yeah, I'll try and respond to them. Just in terms of future videos, unfortunately, I can't. Like I was saying, I've just found it so difficult to do a weekly video on this channel, put all the effort into doing the graphics, whilst also doing an FPL channel. It's just been a bit too much recently, so I'm not going to promise a weekly video, but I'll try and upload or do a live stream on here as often as possible. I really appreciate, by the way, all the support we had on the videos at the start of the season. I was pretty much, well, completely blown away by the amount of views and comments and nice words that they got. It was absolutely fantastic. What I would say, if, you know, I plug them on Twitter, but you might only follow this channel on YouTube. The 3-for-1 Sky Sports Fantasy Football Podcast, Planet FPL, the Man On Podcast, and my good mate FF Bobby. Those are 4 SkyFF channels that upload certainly more consistently than I do. Yeah, you should definitely check them out if you're not checking me out already. Yeah, for sure, those guys are brilliant, and please watch them. All right, I'll catch you in the next one that I do.